Hello, everyone. The subject of our research is how the school principal builds organizational resilience in face of crises and so forth. So, just the title of our research on one of the AI application, and this lovely picture that I've got, how the AI sees the building resilience in school. So we can see and assume that the importance of the leadership of principals in building a school organization resilience. So this was created by AI, as I have already talked. So the purpose of this study is to examine the role of principals, leadership in building school organizational resilience. So, and our objectives are to assess and describe the current levels of crisis management competencies, leadership practices, and organizational resilience in schools. So the second one is to explore and analyze the lived experiences and perceptions of school principals in navigating and fostering resilience within their educational institutions, schools, during times of crisis. To examine the relationship and potential impact of school leaders' crisis, management skills, and leadership practices on the overall resilience of their school. In these turbulent times, the subject of educational leadership takes central stage. Managing and leading under challenging conditions is one of the hallmarks of effective leadership. In today's educational environment, school principals must be swift thinking, fast acting in their approach. And this demands new leadership competencies, crisis management skills, and building resilience. So we will describe now the organizational resilience construct of our research. So organizational resilience is the capability of an organization to anticipate, observe, respond to, and recover from disruptive events or shocks such as natural disasters, health pandemics, or social crises, both reactively and proactively. And in our research, we address organizational resilience from two dimensions, planned and adaptable. Planned, it involves restructuring in the face of disruptive change, and adaptive is about the ability to adapt to possible crises. So, as I have already mentioned, the importance of leadership, and so in crisis, some leadership styles are considered more effective than others. And there are four that we have found in the literature that were identified, that were applied by leaders when organization was facing a crisis and decline. The first one is transformational leadership, authentic leadership, charismatic leadership, and resilient leadership. And transformational leadership is the dominant leadership style applied in building resilience. But we have to take into consideration that each leadership style presents its own disadvantages and advantages in times of crisis. And an effective leader must be capable of integrating a range of styles and competencies to cope successfully in the adversities and crises. So one of the important parameters that influences and impacts resilience and helps to foster it is psychological capital, and it consists of hope, self-efficacy, personal resilience, and optimism. The next one is not less important, is social capital that consists of relationships and social networks among the members of an organization and between them and the people from outside the organization. Social networks, they are social ties in the organization team, and trust is the quality of the social relations and ties among members of this network. So, and trust refers to honesty, openness, reliability, and competence. So, organizational flexibility or flexibility is considered one of organizational strategies for effective coping with change or crisis. And it involves the skills of agility, elasticity, and adaptability. Team empowerment that has three parameters: impact, meaningful, and autonomy. In times of crisis, during the crisis, when rapid, proactive engagement is required, empowered, trusted teams that are confident in their efficacy to function as a team and also able to do so autonomously will display coping behaviors when faced with crises and challenges. In other words, promote organizational resilience. Methodology. In our research, we use a mixed method design in order to understand school organizational resilience in the leadership role of principal. And the priority in this two-phase design was given to qualitative phase, since the qualitative research components represent the major aspect of data collection and analysis in the study, focusing on in-depth descriptions of the adverse experiences and resilient strengths. A semi-structured interview was designed and validated by experts, and it consisted of 20 questions that were divided in three sections: crisis leadership, school organization resilience, and of course, social demographic information that will be discussed will be taken into consideration in discussion and the result. The sample 10 school principals were selected and that agreed to participate. The interviews will be recorded, and after that they will be examined to identify common ideas, categories, and experiences of all the participants. And after that, they will be transformed into codes and categories for the further examination. As the study focuses on the impact of crisis management skills and leadership practices on school organizational resilience, the quantitative data will be collected by using two questionnaires, one for principal and one for teachers. The questionnaires will be built on the results and insights that we will get from the interviews. The criteria for selecting school principals and schools and teachers is based on a range of evidence that the school has been successful during the period of their leadership, and especially coping with crisis. The biggest challenge of all the schools pandemic will be taken into consideration, and of course the recommendation of district superintendent also will be taken into account. So that's very important to say that the same principle, the schools will have like a case study of the schools of these 10 principles, and the teachers from these schools will be asked to participate by filling out the questionnaires. So we suppose that there is a significant relationship between principals, crisis leadership skills, and organizational resilience. And the study has both conceptual and practical implications for schools seeking to improve their resilience, and as a result, school growth and innovations in the face of complex challenges. Expected outcomes and impact, understand lived experiences of school leaders, identify effective practices in school crisis leadership, and develop practical model for building resilient school. And implications, practical use in policy and leadership training, support school innovation and long-term growth, and framework for responding to future crises. Thank you for your attention.